From terrifying chase scenes to massive explosions to crazy car stunts, muscle cars weren't just defined as American freedom. They were actually quite terrifying, and let me tell you why. Muscle cars dominated the era before modern day cars ever got the chance. In fact, these are the muscle cars in movie history that terrified modern day car culture before you even know it. The first muscle car right here is the Fast and Furious Dodge Charger. A menacing dark black 1970 Dodge Charger with a 426 Hemi with a massive blower sticking out of its hood. This muscle car still terrifies modern day Teslas and modern day crossovers. If crossovers seen this muscle car in its rearview mirror, they would soon be terrified because this muscle car wasn't playing jokes. It was actually real, raw, menacing. Its bulky appearance make it truly a monster on wheels, not just because of its design, but how it looks and how it drives. Muscle cars like these really dominated an era where modern day crossovers soon became useless nowadays. If you've seen the Fast and Furious Dodge Charger, there was one holy grail machine that led to the muscle car era, the Ford Mustang of Steve McQueen's Bullitt. This legendary 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback was fast. It destroyed the Dodge Charger during a chase scene, which ironically is the most famous car chase scene that has ever been filmed on screen. In fact, real drivers and real car sounds were added with no music, no dialogue, just pure V8 menace. If someone would have seen this car up close, they would soon realize that muscle cars weren't just machines, they were weapons. They were pretty much the protagonist of the muscle car era. This next car will surely terrify you to believe that it was true. The 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1 used by John Wick was an absolute brute of a beast. Featuring a 429 cubic inch NASCAR V8 power plant underneath its hood, this monster of a muscle car wasn't just fast, it was stylish, aggressive. That legendary snarl that you see on camera, that was a real 1969 model, just begging to be dragged out of the screen. The next one is from Transformers. The 1978 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 Super Sport was basically the oldest versions of the Camaro. Since 1969 was the release of the Z28 model, this muscle car has dominated the most common era of 2007. And later on, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, it gets an off-road body style. Although the car remains exactly the same as it was in the 2007 Transformers movie, this vehicle was still an icon for its day after it was all banged up and scratched. None of us really knew the story of how it ended up all banged up and bruised. The next one will surely terrify you to pieces. The 1958 Plymouth Fury from the movie Christine. Hot rods associated themselves with most of the common things. Some of the hot rods in movies are purely heroes, while others, they were villains. In fact, Stephen King's 1983 movie Christine was basically the prominent era of that point. The 1958 Plymouth Fury was terrifying. Known for its supernatural presence and eerie persona, this muscle car didn't just dominate an era, it dominated the horror genre as well. Blending in with 1980s nostalgia and magic, the muscle car that Christine possessed was actually a real-life 1964 Dodge Polara 330, which happens to be a real-life story that gave Stephen King the idea to write about an evil muscle car terrorizing and stalking people and possessing them. The next car is 2011 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 Super Sport from The Last Stand. The bad guy drove a 2013 Chevrolet Camaro ZR1 C6 model while Arnold Schwarzenegger, aka the Terminator, drove this. Red 19, or should I say something else, really? The 2011 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 Super Sport was basically a contrast to the ZR1 C6 Corvette. Pretty much a pure menace of a muscle car, but this one didn't even carry a V8. In fact, this car even carried a V6 engine because likely V6s can likely depict muscle cars as something gentle or something more aggressive. The heroes of Jeepers Creepers would likely have this: a 1960 Chevrolet Impala, not a Super Sport, not a Z28, not a sports sedan, just a regular sports sedan from the early 1960s. When this car was released as a Bel Air in 1957, the Chevrolet Impala used in Jeepers Creepers was a four-door regular sedan with an inline six. Not fast, but very supple. This car didn't have any supernatural capability, but it was durable enough to take brute damage. Although this car only got half the screen time of the movie itself, it was still pretty much a long-lasting icon of a horror genre. And now we reach the holy grail of all muscle cars, the supernatural Winchester Impala, aka Baby. How can you not talk about the holy grail muscle car that started the horror genre as a whole? Well, Baby, that's for a start. She is a 1967 four-door Chevrolet Impala sports sedan. Yes, a real sports sedan based on the 1960s Impala of the mid-1960s. The Chevrolet Impala, aka Baby, the Winchester Impala, or just simply Baby, is a black 1967 four-door Chevrolet Impala, powered by the legendary 327 cubic inch V8 with a four-banger carburetor power plant. But sometimes most Impalas of the show would use a 427 V8. Although it's common that most Chevrolets of the 1960s would likely use a 327 or 427, but let's be real, Baby fits way more easier with the 327 as it was shown on her Wikipedia page. The 1967 Chevrolet Impala wasn't just a vehicle, it became a character. Baby just proves that the Chevrolet Impala from Supernatural wasn't just a car. She was character. A character that doesn't speak, but a character that derives everything. And those were the muscle cars of every TV series found. I hope you guys enjoy watching this video. Make sure that you guys comment, like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. I see you guys on another video soon. Bye.